Hello and happy Wednesday. Today on the Busy Bride podcast, I am chatting with Pat Kelly from Pat and Sean Kelly, a live music and DJ duo. They're twin brothers and they are freaking awesome at what they do. They're actually about to hit the 10-year mark for their business. If you are looking for an all in one music group that keeps the vibes rolling all day long, you are in for a treat. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Busy Bride podcast. I'm your host, Gabriella Marie, and I created this podcast to help you research vendors and learn valuable advice as you plan the most special and true to you wedding day of your dreams. Let's get started. Hello, Pat. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
I am so excited to chat with you. But before we get into it, before I spill any beans, why don't you introduce yourself? Can you say your business name, what kind of business you are, and which areas you serve, like your general location?
Sure. So my name is Pat Kelly, and the business name, quote unquote, is under Pat and Sean Kelly. That's how most people know us. So alongside my twin brother Sean, we do mostly all the weddings that we do are live music and DJing. So we do live acoustic music and we DJ. We usually do ceremony, cocktail, and reception for most weddings, and we serve the Philadelphia area and the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. But we'll also go anywhere. I mean, we've done weddings in Mexico. We've done weddings, in lots of different places. But typically, it's in the Philly area.
Amazing. And you're going to Mexico soon.
I am. I'm going to Mexico soon. Drop my kids and wife off this morning at the airport, and then I'm going to meet up with them in a week and a half.
I'm so jealous. You enjoy the heck out of that.
Oh, I sure will.
So, why don't you give us a little backstory? When did you start your business? How did it come to be? Why did you start your
Sure.
business? Dive in.
Okay, I'm going to try to make this as not long as possible, as short as I can here, really as concise as I can. So, Sean and I are twin brothers. So, we have been performing together since we were 5 years old, was when we started music. Sean started on the drums. And then when we were 10, we started doing the acoustic duo um, vibe, I guess. And then when we were I guess about 10 years ago, we were basically, well, I was in a moment of what am I going to do with my life? And I was working at an ad agency and I didn't like it at all. And I knew that Sean and I could do music for a living, especially after we had done a few weddings for friends. I was like, this is really fun. This is something that is right in our wheelhouse. We've been doing music for a long time anyway. So I basically quit my job and started doing this full time. And our first year, my goal was to have 15 weddings, and we had 35. So I was
Wow.
like, "Whoa! I guess we found something." But previous to the wedding industry, we were on a record label called Rockridge Music for 3 album cycles. So we have that kind of industry knowledge and experience as well. So music has just always been something that we do, writing music, recording music. It's the best. It's the most fun that I can have. And yeah, so that's how we kind of got to where we are today. And my wife is also in the wedding industry. She runs Elephant Limbo, which is a stationery company. And I know way too much about stationery, and I know way too much about all the other things that happen at weddings too. Photographers, videographers, florists. I have really befriended a lot of great people in the Philly area and in the industry. It's been a lot of fun.
That's amazing. So you've become an overall wedding expert by
I
default.
guess so. Yeah, it's one of those things that just like doing. We do 50 to 60 weddings a year, so we're up on our 500th at this point. So it's been really funny, like just kind of seeing everyone going through very similar things, even if they're not necessarily the same kind of vendor. But the funny thing is that we get to see all of your work, right? We get to see photographers, videographers. We get to see how you guys work on the day, florists and all that stuff. But when it comes to musicians and DJs, we don't get to see them because they're doing other weddings while we're doing ours. So it's also trying to network with the people that are similar to what you do, to kind of make the industry better and say, hey, I don't really know, like, how do you guys do this or how do you guys do that? Because we're just two guys. We're not part of a larger company. It's just the two of us. So, and also we didn't come from the DJing and kind of that entertainment world. We came from the rock and roll world. So it was a kind of a different, step in a different direction, but at the same time, still get to use all those skills that we had from there, along with this.
Yeah, and when you take your passion, you follow it into a niche, like you know music, like you know it in and
Hmm.
out, you love it. But then there's like the whole side of things where it's like the wedding day structure you need to learn, and then there's like advocating for your business you need to learn, and there's so
Yeah,
much else that goes into it besides the passion. It's definitely a learning curve.
huge
Once
learning
you,
curve.
yeah, totally.
Well, and I
But
mean, and
it's
you said that you entered the industry in 2020. So for you, the past 4 years have probably been like, I never thought I was going to have to ever think about this,
oh
but
my
I have
gosh,
to,
yes,
especially with
yes.
taxes and like all this stuff that you have to read a novel to understand it, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's been one giant learning. It's not even a curve, it just kind of like points up.
Yeah, it's a plateau, but you're at the bottom of it and you're looking up
Right.
at the
Yes, I'm just constantly learning.
There's the cliff.
Oh,
There it is.
yes. Oh my goodness. So let's go into a wedding day. Can you walk me through, or I guess not even just a wedding day, what do you do as a live musician and a
Mhm.
DJ? Like, do you do a lot of pre-planning? And then what does the work look like on a wedding day?
So, most of the time, ceremony and cocktail hour is live, and then, during the reception, they can choose if they want to do some live stuff, especially for special dances, first dance and parent dances. Like, why wouldn't you want to have something done live? Um, and then dinner we can do live as well. So we try to offer as much of that as we can because a lot of people hire us because of that. They like our live sound and they like the fact that we can go back and forth. And there really is no like break in music. So a lot of times people are really concerned about, oh, what's it like if you stop playing live music and then go into DJing? There's two of us, so once Sean will finish up a song and then I'll already be over it, getting the music together. So there's no break in music. That's one of the things that we really like to make sure we do is to keep the music going at an appropriate volume for the moment. And then we switch over to DJing. DJing is something that I kind of dove into because we were doing this. And just a quick story. This is something that I'm sure you went through as well. I was like, I have a credit card and I don't know what I'm going to do with this whole wedding industry thing, but I'm going to buy a DJ controller and the software and a computer. And then I have to figure out how to use all of it. And I just remember looking at my controller the first time, like, what did I get myself into? But I learned how to DJ and I love it. As a drummer, it's really fun to be able to use that skill along with the DJing side of it because it's all about beats. It's all about being able to match things up and make it make sense to people on the dance floor. So I've been doing that for the past 10 years, and it's been really fun to be able to couple both of these together and offer something unique. The biggest selling point, I think, is really just the dynamic of having two people that can do live music and DJ, and you feel like they're there for the whole thing. We're along for the whole ride, especially when we're doing ceremony and cocktail hour and reception. It's like we're there for with you guys for 5.5 to 6 hours, but we're there 2 or 3 hours ahead of time and an hour after. So it's a full day. Kind of like how you guys with photography, you guys are there for a really long time. It's the same for us. It's a 10 to 12 hour day from front to back, typically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really cool that you guys are able to do both the live music and the DJing aspect, because I feel like a lot of couples are, they feel the need to choose. Like, okay, do we want
Hmm.
live music at our wedding, or do we want a DJ, or do we hire separate people, like, someone for the ceremony and someone for the reception?
Yep.
And that just adds a lot more logistics, a little bit more chaos,
Hmm.
things to manage. And so having you two there the whole day, knowing what's happening all day and being able to like provide music and keep the vibes going
Yeah.
constantly,
Yep.
like that's awesome.
And there's a lot of worry with, I think, when it comes to like the flow of things during a wedding day that couples have. And for us, the way that we work is, ceremony and cocktail hour, we don't have to do as much on the speaking side or emceeing side. But once we hit the reception, Sean becomes the MC and communicator and kind of, the pseudo timekeeper to make sure that everything is going well, and also communicating with photographers and videographers to make sure that you guys are there when the moments are about to happen. But we're usually hanging out with you guys anyway. And then I'm on the board making sure that the music is sounding good. That when we do the intros, everything's kind of seamless. So there's a lot of value in that people might not know about, because when you hire a DJ from a company, so you just sometimes you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what you're going to get. And for us, we're a very specific kind of duo, a very specific group. You're paying for us, you're getting us, on the day of.
Absolutely. All your vendors on a wedding day are working together to make the day flow, and they all have
Hmm.
different roles to do that at different parts of the day. But I think something that doesn't get talked about a lot, or maybe is not thought of, is how important like the emceeing part of a DJ is,
Yeah.
because you do keep the reception rolling and flowing seamlessly, and you essentially kind of tell guests like, okay, this is happening next, or
Hmm.
get ready for this thing that's about to happen, without saying that so much. Like it just seems fun,
Everyone
and
get
you
your butt in your seat now.
sit down. Yeah. But yeah, and you guys, I've worked with you before, and you do a great job at everything. You're great at live music,
Thank
great at
you.
DJing, and great at the emceeing part too. But I just wanted to highlight that because I feel like that's something that a lot of couples don't really consider when it comes to the wedding.
Yeah, and there's a lot of emceeing styles too. Well, there's really two main ones, but everyone has their own thing. And we're pretty hands off. We're not, we're not the guys who are gonna be hype men. We're not gonna get up on the table and dance and like try to get everyone. We really are music forward and music first, to get people on the dance floor. And also we're there all day, so people tend to trust us more because they're like, oh, you guys are still here. I guess we're gonna like we totally trust your music choices. This is great. But also, yeah, we try to stay back on the mic, and then some people are just on the mic a lot, and that can be a little bit it can be a little bit tough for some people that are like, hey, I just want to listen to the music. I don't want to have somebody talking all the time, over the music. So there's just like a good balance that has to happen there. But communication is the number one thing, when it comes to emceeing or doing anything on that end. And we're totally fine with doing that. We love to introductions and all that kind of stuff. But then we kind of pull back a little bit on speaking too much until the end of the dancing is typically when it gets fun.
That's the great way to go about it as well. I because I've been, I go to weddings a lot, and I
Yeah.
think that's an awesome way to go about it. Um, okay, question for you: is is there something that you and Sean do that a lot of your couples maybe aren't aware of? Like they're kind of surprised, like, "Oh wow, you do that too for us? That's amazing."
Oh man, this is a good question. Um, I think a lot of couples are expecting to have to like they're like, hey, is there anything else that we need to like think about with you guys? And we're like, no, no, we're gonna show up and do everything. All the stuff that you chose, like we're gonna do that. And a lot of times there's like, oh, do we need to, order anything extra? Do you need like an extra this or that? And we try to do everything, without them having to worry about any kind of extra stuff is what we. But also one of the big things too is that um, when people are thinking about music, we will learn up to 3 songs for a couple. So if there's a song that you really want for, especially for ceremonies and for first dances and special dances, we'll learn songs for people. And that's something, because it's the two of us and we've been playing together for so long and we're twins and we're doing music together all the time. It's pretty easy for us to learn stuff quickly. Um, just because of the repetition of doing it. So when couples want something unique and they're like, well, I really want that one song. Can you guys do that? And most couples know our vibe going into it. They're not like, "Yeah, could you play, a song that wouldn't work at all?" We've rarely had to say no to a song. But that's one thing that a lot of times learning music is a lot of fun for us because couples are really cool. People are cool and they have cool music tastes. So we want to be able to reflect their music tastes as much as we can. And we do our research. We know music pretty well as far as if they're going to say, hey, we want this kind of vibe for dinner, we will curate music for every single moment. So you're not going to feel like, oh, why are they playing this playlist of stuff that I don't like at all? Everything is going to be based on what they give us. And then we'll fill in all the gaps. They don't need to think about everything because it's a lot. But we do want to reflect them as much as we can as curators.
Yes, you are professional curators. You're not
Hmm.
just musicians, not just
Hmm.
DJs. Like you know music and you understand music, and that's really cool. But I wanted to ask, what's like the most fun song that you guys learned for a couple?
Oh, the most fun. Oh man.
It doesn't have to be the most
There's
fun, but one of
yeah,
them.
there's man, we've learned so many songs. Like we've just that's one of the fun things is that you learn a song and you're like, I never heard this before. Why have I never heard this before? And it happens a lot where we'll be like, oh my gosh. And especially because we do acoustic music, a lot of the Americana acoustic like Lumineers or stuff in kind of in that vein, Mumford and Sons, but then newer stuff too, like Zach Bryan and kind of the and of course um Stick Season was, a huge album over this past year. So Noah Khan, he was just we play so much of his music too. And that's the stuff we really like to learn because it sits well for us. Um and then also, of course, anything current that people are like, I wonder if they can do this. It's like challenge accepted. Let's try it. Even if it's not the same that kind of vibe, we're happy to do it. So yeah, it's a wide variety of music. I would say that what makes it fun is that couples are really cool, and especially the ones that are really into a lot of different music. They're like, hey, would it be okay if you learn this? We're like, oh yeah, like definitely. So yeah, that's I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yes, definitely. And it's so cool then because then those cool songs get added to your repertoire and then it just
Hmm.
becomes like one of the songs you know and can offer.
Yeah,
So that's really cool. But also Noah Khan is amazing. My
I
boyfriend
know.
loves him. We're going to see him this summer. I'm so
Oh
excited.
man, I'm sure those tickets were really cheap.
So cheap. Yeah, we don't want to talk about the ticket
I know
prices.
it's so bad. I'm like, there's so many shows I want to go to. I'm like, I can't
You
go to
gotta
them
like choose one. It's
because then
crazy.
then for me, we have to get babysitting, and then we
That
have to get
too.
we got
Hmm.
to get down there and like park. It's crazy, but it's still worth it because I love
It's
music. So
yes, music is fun. Live music is super fun.
mm-hmm.
Expensive but worth it. Um, okay, do you want to dive into like your packages? Because I don't know how you
Sure.
structure anything, and I'm sure a lot of couples listening are like, okay, these guys sound cool.
We're really simple when it comes down to it. The one thing I will say is that we usually don't do many weddings where we're not doing the reception. So a lot of times people will say, "Can you just do?" I shouldn't say a lot. Sometimes we'll get, "Can you just do the ceremony and cocktail hour?" And the main reason is that because we do this for a living, and because we offer full service DJing that is comparable to any DJ that you would be able to get. That we need to do the reception as well. So typically it's reception only, cocktail and reception, ceremony, cocktail and reception, and we break it up into those three categories. It's
Amazing.
it's very simple.
And then is your most common? What's your most common package?
It's usually the full day. I would say between the full day and then cocktail and reception because we offer live music. It's almost like if they're gonna have everything in the same space or on the same property, then typically we'll do all of it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And it again, like it just makes things easier when you have you guys
Oh yeah.
there the whole day. And the vibes are important for the wedding day too. I feel like people don't think about that
Yeah.
because
The V word.
The V word.
So I also do, I also help to, a little bit teaching with, a company or a company slash, course called Well Paid Musician. It's with a guy named Matt Santry. He's from, the Malvern area, so he's local, but he does a really great, course that is, I mean, it's global, so there's people from all over the US and some people from Europe, and he's just been, he's helped me to kind of be able to do that as well, so I work with him and talk about that a lot. The vibe side of things is extremely important, and one of the hard parts about it is it's hard to teach that. Like, sometimes it's just the way that you are, like, your vibe is good, like, if you're like you know, you're, like, happy and bubbly and fun, like, that's a good like, that's good for a lot of people. That helps people to connect with you. But, you know, it sometimes vibe is it's a hard thing to, it's a hard thing to teach, but at the same time, one of the biggest parts, I think, especially with music, is sound level is a really big thing. I can't tell you how many times I've, you know, either DJ'd or, you know, done a wedding, and I'll have a bartender come up to me and they're like, "Thank you for not blowing my ears out." And I'm like, "Look, we're not like quiet. Like, we're not always quiet, especially when it comes to the DJing side of it. So like, how loud are people playing their music?" And it's just it's hard as a, you know, as a DJ, you want to be able to just, you know, raise the roof off the place. So sometimes it's just a little bit too loud, and we're really sensitive to the sound stuff. Sean also has like he has some ear, you know, sound, sensitivity, so he's really sensitive to it, and we make sure that we're trying to, you know, keep things at a good level for people so that they don't, you know, their ears aren't ringing at the end of the night. So there's a lot of different things that vibe kind of encompasses. It's, you know, it's the way things look, it's the way things feel, it's the way things sound. And putting all of them together can be challenging if you've never done it before. But if you kind of get the experience and then, and do it, and people tend to go more towards a vibe than they do. Like, if you have a really good vibe, that's, one thing that people will say, "I'll spend a little bit more because I know the vibe is gonna be good," especially if they've been to a wedding that you have done or seen photos that you have done, or maybe it was like, you know, a groomsman or bridesmaid that worked directly with you, and then they're like, "Oh my god, she was great. We gotta have her. She made it seamless and fun." It's the same for us. Like, you want, you know, you want people to feel like that. Like, "Oh, everything was seamless. They did all the things that we had asked for, but also like didn't make us choose everything. They filled in all the gaps. They understood what we were looking for." There's just a lot of things that vibe really encompasses, and it's really hard to teach people, but it's very important.
That is a very, very good point because I think going into that, I was thinking vibes more of like, the music curation and then having the music be playing throughout the day for
Yeah.
ceremony and cocktail and reception without any like hard stops. But the
Well,
volume thing
yeah.
is huge. To your point, I I pack earplugs for myself for
Sure.
receptions because there are some DJs that blast the music and
Yeah.
blow the roof off of the place. And, for some couples, that's what they want. They want to feel like they're in a club. Great for them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I have the earplugs.
Yep.
um,
Exactly.
but, some couples, some like guest lists, your guests maybe don't want that. And
Hmm.
so uh, it is possible to have loud, fun reception music without you know, hurting your eardrums and having your Apple
Yeah.
Watch alert you that
I
you're
know.
in a dangerous music environment.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that too, because I don't have an Apple Watch, so I didn't know that. But yeah, watch out. It's really loud where you are.
Yeah, no, I don't have an Apple Watch, but I've worked with other vendors who have them, and there is an alert that pops up at some receptions where it's like,
Oh
"You can lose
man.
hearing after 10 minutes."
Yeah. Wow, that's really funny. Okay, well, I hope that, well, I guess I need to get one now to make sure that I'm not gonna lose my hearing.
Oh my gosh, get an Apple Watch for the sole purpose of
Yeah,
noise level
exactly.
awareness. Well, I feel like Sean kind of is that person since he has the
He is.
sensitivity.
Well, and he's always wearing earplugs, and also our dad, when he was younger, he was a drummer, and he has, like 2% hearing in his right ear, So we always joke with him. We're like, "We'll just talk to you when, we'll ask you things when we're on your right side, so you're just gonna say yes no matter what it is."
Oh my gosh.
And but yeah, so that's kind of something we grew up understanding, like we really need to take care. And then as a drummer, I always wore earplugs or in-ear headphones that, when I'd have like a click track or something, going on behind to play with. But we always did. And I think that that kind of sensitivity is something that we need to like all kind of think about on a regular basis, because we want to be able to still do what we love to do, right? And
Absolutely.
and hear the music that we love to listen to.
Mhm. Definitely. Quick question, what is your favorite part of what you do on wedding days? Like, I
Mhm.
guess twofold. What is your favorite part of a wedding day, as somebody who gets to go to a ton of weddings? And then
Yeah.
also, do you love the live music? Do you love the DJing? What's kinda your favorite part there?
I mean, I do love both of them. There's I think that DJing is a little bit more, because it's a longer period of time where there's so much ebb and flow. There's a little bit more anxiety in it. A lot of DJs are like, so when I start, like, what if they get off the dance floor? And it's like, okay, there's an ebb and flow. Maybe like there's cake going on and dessert is out, coffee's out. People want to go outside because it's a beautiful night, so they end up going outside. And it's like, but what if the floor's not full? Well, if you look around, are people having a good time? And eventually they're going to get back on the dance floor. Like that's just how we work as humans. But but I would say my favorite parts, I guess some of my favorite moments that I've experienced at weddings that are kind of like, I guess, parts of the wedding is, number one, sometimes when we do smaller weddings, we'll do mostly live music, and we're able to kind of get people up and dancing um, and just like we just chain go through songs, like, we'll do 10 songs in a row, no break, just like go straight through it. And just to see people dancing around to live music, it feels like it's a very communal experience, and people are all just much more engaged in a very different way than um than if it is, DJing is DJing is like we can listen to whatever we want. Live music, it's like we're listening to these guys, this is what they sound like, these are the songs that they can play. So the live stuff, like we did we were up at Cedar Lakes estate in New York. If you've ever been to Port Jervis, I think it's called. It's where New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania meet.
Oh, yes. It's
It's
a
a
beautiful
it's a
area.
it is absolutely beautiful. But there's this amazing venue up there, and we did a welcome dinner, rehearsal dinner, and we just played for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and people were just dancing the whole time, and they were just enjoying it. And I love those moments because it's like, you feel like you're really connecting with people. But on the flip side, I think the ceremony, watching people come in and like looking around and being like, all right, I'm listening to these guys play music, and then looking around to see their friends and their family. I love that moment too, because you're like as a musician, I'm playing and I'm just like eyeing up everybody. Like, all right, so what are we doing today? Like, what's the demographic here? We got a lot of older people, we got a lot of younger people. What's going on here? So that's also one of my favorite moments, is just kind of like the expectation of, pre-ceremony, and then after the ceremony's over, when everyone's like, "Oh, we did it. We're like, let's just party now."
I love that answer. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I bet that must be the coolest feeling ever to be, like, providing, the source of, like, such joy and celebration
Yeah,
for a group of people.
there's something about it. There was one time where we played, it was in Philly. What's the restaurant called? Oh, how can I forget it? It starts with a B and I can't remember it. But we played upstairs,
Oh,
in
mhm,
it's a Greek, is it Greek or
I think it's Mediterranean.
Mediterranean? Yes, it
It's
is.
oh my gosh,
Where
Barbuzzo.
Yes.
Yes.
Barbuzzo,
I
Barbuzzo.
Barbuzzo.
Barbuzzo, yeah.
I've been in that upstairs
By
area
our
too.
by our brains combined, we can figure it out.
We got it.
So we were playing upstairs there, and we weren't really sure what to expect. It was like a shorter. It was like 3.5 to 4 hours. We weren't really sure what to expect, and by the end of the night, it was like they were dancing so hard, and the floor. It was like the floor was moving. There was a glass on the piano behind us, and it just it was the last moment of the last song, and we hit down, and everything just comes off of there and just shatters all in front of us, and like there's water everywhere and beer everywhere, and we just started cracking up. Like that really just that did it for us, and that we now we know why we love doing this.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm sure everybody was like,
They're
"Whoa,
like,
we
what
did
is happening? Everything is
that."
falling apart right now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. What a great story.
Fun times.
Yeah, I just thought of a question I wanted to ask,
Hmm.
as we wrap things up. Um, on your social media, your Instagram page is super duper cool. Everybody should go
Thank
look at it.
you.
Pat and Sean Kelly. You guys do mashups of
Hmm.
songs, and they are absolutely incredible. I just showed my mom the other day. Showed her your what is it? Roses and Closer Chain Smokers
Oh yeah.
mashup. Do you ever do those at weddings, or is that just something that you guys love to do for
So
fun?
yeah, so I'll tell a little bit about this social media journey, because I think as a wedding vendor, it's important to kind of touch on, because weddings were so popular early on in Instagram, and then the industry just became so big. Um, but yeah, sometimes we'll do that. We will do some that people do request them. Couples will request us to do, and our medleys too. We have a bunch of different medleys, and sometimes they'll request them, and we'll be like, well, it's a lot of times some of the medleys they're a lot. Like if you go to see those medleys, you'll be like, okay, I'm here to see this. But like if you're not expecting it, you're gonna be like, this is a lot. Um, so, but they will. Though people will ask us to do them, and people tend to enjoy it, which is great. They have. It's funny the we and I was kind of telling you this, when I was emailing you. Um, on Instagram, we've been on Instagram since we started doing this in 2015, and then of course, like before then, personal Instagrams, whatever. And we just couldn't really break like 4,000 followers. We had been doing it for years and years and years, and then we decided to kind of make a left turn and say, you know what, let's just do more creative stuff, because the wedding side of things, um, when it comes to being a musician, you don't necessarily need to have um, you don't necessarily need to be wedding forward in order to book weddings. It's really about relationships with people like you, with venues, especially too, and like Terrain. We work at Terrain probably like 15 times a year, like a ton of times, and it's just because it fits really well with our vibe. The people who have their wedding at Terrain, they really trust Terrain, so they're like, we're gonna, we want to work with whoever they say is good. So when it comes to the wedding industry, we realized that we didn't need to do wedding stuff in order to continue doing it for a living. And just to kind of give you some numbers, I want to make sure that Sean always gives me a hard time, because he's like the I just want to play music guy and chill and do my thing. And not that he's not into the business side of it, but I went to school for business, and like it's important to kind of see where you are in numbers and stuff. And in I think in 2023 we had 700 inquiries for weddings in
Oh
just
my
that year.
goodness
Now that
gracious.
was the boom. That was like the year when everyone
Mhm.
was getting a lot. So we've kind of plateaued around that. And I realized, like, we don't need to spend money on the knot. We don't need to keep doing that kind of stuff. So we decided to move away from that, and then really focus on the creative side of it. And when we did that, we didn't realize that we would be able to like have videos go viral and do something that is a completely different thing than than what we were kind of doing before. And industry people keep asking, they're like, I mean, uh, are you getting like so many more inquiries now? And I'm like, no, we're not. It's because we're not, that's not the audience. Like as much as awesome as it would be if it was like, all right, so before you had 1,000 followers and now you have 10,000 followers, does that mean you get 10 times more leads? Like, no, it doesn't. It just means that you have a little bit more legitimacy in kind of that realm. And also when people go to your of course when people go to your site, they're gonna or your Instagram, they're gonna see, and they're gonna be like, oh, okay, this person, I didn't realize that these guys did this. I didn't realize that they were crazy like that. So the cool thing that happened was, in like 2022, we kind of decided to switch it up. And over the past year or so, we've had, I don't know, like 8 or 9 videos go viral, and then over 45 million views, 150 or almost 250,000 followers now between TikTok and Instagram. And it's crazy because we're just like I'm 36, Sean and I are 36. So it's not really for us, like we're established in our lives, we're like, oh, so we have an audience now. I guess we got to like release stuff again and do more of the stuff that we love to do. And that was kind of the point of it, is to do more of what we love, since we already had that the wedding stuff kind of situated.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
That's how we got there.
Yeah, so it's truly just something fun that you guys love doing that's more creative than the normal, "I
Yeah,
worked a wedding today. Look at the video."
exactly. And also, just like with doing a lot of weddings, you get good at doing them, like not because you're great, but because of experience. And you're great, um,
So are you.
but because but because like you get good at the process of it, and it takes you less and less time as you do it. Like the more that you do it. So for us, we just got to a point where we're like, I mean, you could ask us to do a wedding tomorrow and just give us the music today, and we would be able to execute it. And that's kind of where we are. So we're like, all right, so let's like add more to what we're doing. And then who knows where that'll lead? Who knows, who we'll be able to work with in the future. That kind of stuff is fun too.
Absolutely, yes. The having the experience is really awesome to be able to provide that to couples and be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
listen, we got your back. We know what we're doing. We'll take everything you want into account, but we got this."
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. Okay. It's time for the final question. It's a big one.
The
Two-part
final
question.
question.
Yes, the final question. Um, what is, with all your wedding experience, what is your biggest tip for couples planning their wedding, both professionally and also personally, if applicable?
um. Hmm. Well, it's funny because when you did send the question, I was thinking the vibe aspect of it was my. It's funny that you pulled that out too, that you picked that out. Um, I think that one of the things that we don't talk about a lot is the emotional side of weddings and how important that is, because you can have all the lights, you can have the walking on clouds, and you can have all of the cool tech, right? But if the father of the bride gets up there and plays a song for his daughter and for them to dance or whatever, you're going to remember that more than you're going to remember how crazy everything was, because emotions are really stick to our heart. So when couples are thinking about what they're going to do, find the things that are really important, and that's really going to get to the heart of who they are. We just did a wedding where the dad played along, like we played alongside him, and everybody loved it and everyone was going crazy. It doesn't matter if they're really talented, it doesn't matter if they just love it because it's them, because it's the people that they're there to celebrate with. And people love to support each other. So we love to do that stuff. Sean worked with preschool kids and teaching high school and middle school and elementary school kids through like the School of Rock and stuff like that, and also camps and whatever. And then his wife is a school teacher, so we love to work with all different ages. No one, like I have 3 kids and they're insane, and there's like the dynamics of it are so fun. So those kinds of things are really, really important, and finding ways to get that emotional side in there, I think is really helpful for couples, and will help them to remember it more than if they just paid a lot of money for something to be really flashy. But then again, some people like that, and I totally get it. I mean, who doesn't love to go to see videos of a rave where there's tons of lights everywhere and like these awesome festivals and concerts. That's really fun. But also, if something's really emotional, it tends to capture our hearts a little more.
I love that answer a lot, and I think couples will hear like, "Oh, make your wedding your own," and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But I think what people are trying to say is like sit down with your partner and be like, okay, what do we really value? What's going to mean the most to us? And then focus in on that.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's, the dad playing music, or yeah, find out what you value, what hits you hardest emotionally, and then really hone in and and pay a lot of attention to that when you're planning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we hear that all the time. It's like, "Oh, just focus on you 2 getting married. Like, just focus on that." And you're like, "Yeah, like, of course, that's definitely the most important part of the day." We all know that. But then there's gonna be other stuff that you're like, "Oh, like, I want it to mean something." How do you get something to mean something to other people?
Absolutely. Yes. That is a key thing to think about. And I mean, I'm guilty of saying that too, like, oh, you're getting married. That's the most
Sure.
important thing. But it is, and everybody knows that. And it's just it's being able to honestly, I feel like be present. And the way you be present is you have vendors who you trust to run the day for
Mhm.
you. So you're not stressed about anything else happening logistically, because the logistics
Yeah.
are second. It's all the moments that
Mhm.
with your favorite people and your loved
Oh,
ones.
100%. Yep.
It's all the moments, yes. Oh, I love that answer.
What was the second part of the question?
I think it was just what was it? The biggest tip? Oh, so
Oh, like
professionally and then
and
personally.
personally?
Yeah.
Oh, personally, I don't know. Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, everyone is so different, with what they value and what they want. Um, yeah, I think that every wedding vendor will say, do the thing that you want to do is really what it comes down to. But the reality of that is very difficult. Families and parents and who's paying for what and the dynamics of that make it really hard to like get everything that you want to get. But I think the living in the moment and the being present is probably the most important life advice that anyone can have in general.
Yes, it is.
So
That's
we're
very
gonna stick
true.
with that answer. We're gonna go with that. If it's good for life, it's good for this.
Amazing. Great wording. Good for life, good for this too.
It's definitely good for weddings.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, Pat, about all things music and
Likewise.
weddings. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
That was such a great conversation. I've worked with Pat and Sean Kelly before, and I can confirm that they are incredibly talented musicians and DJs, which it's kind of rare to get that duo going there. Duo, as in they do love music and DJ. And if you want to follow along and see all of their really cool mashups, you can follow their Instagram at Pat and Sean Kelly. No spaces, no nothing, just Pat and Sean Kelly. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Now, go hug your person, and I'll see you next Wednesday.